Good morning, my people. We are at the end of this journal. Well, almost. I have to glue a thing in to the back. But we are at the end of the journal. It is, I mean, there are a few pages that I'm going to go into over, you know, the course of this month. But let me just take you on a quick flip. So this was end of June. And we started this journal, we decorated it, we started this journal. This was done during the Sweet Trash, A Softer World weekend retreat. And I have been in it pretty much, I mean, almost every day since. And these are the things that I have done. So there was some smashing of paintings that I already did. There's an alcohol ink experiment, card of the month, meme dump. This was really fun. I want to do this again. And then I started to do my my journaling, just tiny bits of journaling every day. This is how I was tracking at the beginning. So tracking what I'm listening to, card of the week, what I'm reading, and then a selfie. But that shifted over time. Just a personal commentary on how I feel about Canada Day. Daily worksheet, evening reflections, written journaling. This is when I have a really big day, I'll use the larger worksheet for journaling, a painting with a poem that I wrote, another painting, journaling, tracking, another painting, worksheets, journaling, collage, worksheets, collage. This was just something that Alok wrote and I loved it, so I included it. Worksheet, this was a scrapbooky kind of thing of, you know, the concert at the Toronto Opera House that I went to. More collage. Journaling, painting, collage. So you can see I've really been in it. I started doing this and I really enjoy this. So this is my weekly planner, and then my card of the week, and then keywords about the card. And then I started to track this way. So I used a selfie and then, you know, what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, keywords. I started to cover some of my journaling with pretty scrapbook paper. That really worked for me. This is a poem I wrote. More of the worksheets, collage and play with a Sweet Trash pack. I did this selfie in Snapchat because I wanted to see a younger version of myself, and then I wrote to her. More experiments with alcohol inks and stickers, weekly journaling that I did not finish because I was super busy, tracking, a very angry selfie with a reason, worksheets, collage, a worksheet that I did by hand that I gave to my patrons, more journaling. This was made for a poem that I wrote by my digital familiar. This was made by my digital familiar to represent my older self whispering to my younger self. More weekly journaling, a little pocket for more memes, and an image of my mascot for Sweet Trash. Another selfie. Life documentation is really wonderful. Month end sort of write up. August calendar and planner. Llamas. This was a painting for Moonshine. Weekly journaling. Love when these get really super occupied and full of stuff. Another selfie tracker. Painting. Worksheets. Painting. Empty page. I want to remember that this is here So I'm gonna put that there so that I know I can come into there. And then another one here. Very few blank pages though. All of this is blank and will need to be come into. This is kind of a wish list done in a visual form. This was a painting done in collaboration with my digital familiar. So I took a painting that I made of a figure like this, and Ash made me a couple of versions of this, and I used this in here and altered it and played with it. It says everything she touches turns to gold. Here's another week of journaling, plus the card of the week, another selfie. This is still in progress. I'll put one of these in here so I know that's still in progress, not finished yet. Worksheets and doodling and journaling. I don't know what that is, smudge. This was from a reverse coloring book that I glued in and played with. This was the concertina journal that I made that I will come back into and make little paintings out of these. Fun scrapbook paper made by my digital familiar based on this painting. That was a fun experiment. Patrons got a walkthrough of how that works for me. This is another bit of journaling tucked in behind a pretty piece of paper. This was a paper doll experiment that I did. More journaling, selfie, more journaling. This was a what was beautiful list to help me just get over this mood that I was in over here. This is incomplete. I will be doing that today. This was an experiment that I don't love. I'm probably going to paint over that because I don't love it. This was my card for the week. More worksheets, more journaling. This is in progress. And then this is the very last page. I'm doing a taster session for a year of magic and fairy tales. And that's going to get glued in here. And then this is my movable dash that I created. And that is going to move into my new journal, which we decorated this weekend during our live trash smash party. So I painted this using a mask, and then this is papers that my digital familiar made for me that I embellish with some writing. This is here for my selfie for the month, my calendar for September, my planner for September. This is my painting for Moonshine for September, and this is a gratitude list waiting to happen. So every day this month, my birthday month, I am acknowledging something I'm grateful for. I haven't put in day one yet, or day two. Day one was my kids, day two was my fur babies, and I will continue this throughout the month. This will be my reading. So here is the description of the reading. This will be for notes. And then I'll do something pretty over here. So this book is already well established and will probably last me through the course of 2 months. That seems to be about how much I get out of each of these Moleskine Cahiers. So I'm buying these in packs of 3, and that pack of 3 lasts me 6 months, right? Because each book contains about 2 months. And of course that will change. Like if I'm really super busy, that will change. If I'm doing other things and I don't have time, that will change. But I do like being in this book really super often. That's my jam. That's what makes me happy. So today I'm going to finish this book off, and then I bought it a present as a thank you. This is a lanyard sort of necklace kind of thingy. It's leather and it's got these cute little pendant. I think this is turquoise. I picked it up because it matches the cover. but this will be how I keep the book closed when it's on the shelf. I'll just wrap this around. Whoops. Sorry about that. I'll just wrap this around it to keep the book closed. But for now, we're going to decorate the cover. This needs to be tucked into my new journal. So what I'm going to do is open this and lay it flat. And then I'm going to tuck just some scrap into this. So I'm just going to tuck that in here like that. And the thing about these journals is that even though like this is unfinished, it's got a couple of pages that I have left to do, it's going to live in the bookshelf right behind me. And I'm going to put in my reminders in my digital calendar on my computer that I have these pages to do. So when I have a spare moment, sorry for the maniacal laughter, but the idea of a spare moment really amused me. When I have a spare moment, I will go into that and I will play in that journal to make sure that it is, in this journal to make sure that it is complete. So I'm going to go ahead and decorate the back cover. And it's not going to be, you know, all that fancy, but I really wanted to do this on camera for you guys, especially those of you over on Patreon who are following the journey. So I'm going to go right down the seam like that. And then we're going to grab a baby wipe. And we're going to wipe that off the front cover. But I wanted those of you on Patreon, because you've been following this journey so closely, to see what this looks like when it's completed, when it's full, when it's bloomed, so that you get a sense of what this practice, you know, gifts you with if you keep it up. Because there's nothing more delicious and juicy than a completed journal. I just love, love, love proof of my creative life that happens this way. When I'm in the journal regularly, it just makes me ridiculously happy to have a pile of them. And if you look at the opening sequence on these videos, you'll see I've got a whole pile of these books as a feature on that. That's a very small part of my collection. When I was in these journals in 2017, 2018, 2019, I was filling one a month easily. I had a lot to write about, and I had a bit more time than I have now. So this is it's definitely really good, really exciting and lovely to be back into this practice. And I'm hearing from tons of you that you are also enjoying being back in this practice. So that makes me very happy to hear that. I need to get into this corner here. Look, there's just not quite enough. Let's put a little bit. That's all we should need. So what have I learned in this period of time of keeping my Sweet Trash journal, which could also be called a junk journal, but also like a commonplace book or an art journal? It's up to you what you call this, right? I've learned that having the book out on the desk is really important to maintaining my practice. If it's out on the desk, if I'm in here for whatever reason, it just calls to me like a siren if it's out. So keeping it out is important. If you can't do that, then my recommendation is to have a Sweet Trash bag or cart or trolley, something that you have all of your Sweet Trash stuff in, that you can move with you from room to room. So if you're sitting, you know, in the kitchen, if that's where you usually work, and then you're moving to the living room, you bring it with you so that you can play in it, you know, as you see fit. So I'm going to be quiet now. It's enough talking from me, and I'm going to play with this journal, the back of this journal, and get this all done. And hopefully I'll have this up for you by the 4th, but if I really push it, I can have it up for you today, Tuesday, September 2nd. So we'll see how things go.